Today we're diving deep into a murder case. It took place on September 11th, 2001 in New York City. You might be thinking, isn't that the day of the World Trade Center attacks?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's exactly what makes this case, the murder of Henrik Shivak, so fascinating.
It's what's fascinating is how this individual story intersects with a global tragedy, giving us a unique perspective on that day's impact. Far-reaching impact.
Henrik was a Polish immigrant working hard to build a life for his family back home.
Hmm.
And we're going to hear from his sister, Lutina, and two former NYPD detectives who investigated the case.
Oh wow.
So we have multiple perspectives here.
Yeah, hearing these multiple perspectives will let us piece together what happened and recognize the complexities of conducting a murder investigation during such extraordinary circumstances.
We're going to explore the challenges they faced, the theories they pursued, and ultimately the enduring mystery that still surrounds Henrik's death. It really makes you think, could this murder have been prevented if not for the events of that tragic day?
It's certainly a question worth exploring.
For sure. So let's start with Henrik himself. He came to the U.S. about a year before 9/11, hoping to earn enough to build a house for his family in Poland. He even dreamed of building it with his own two hands.
Oh wow.
A real craftsman.
This detail highlights Henrik's dedication.
Mm.
He wasn't just seeking financial gain. He was a man of action who wanted to create something tangible for his loved ones.
Yeah, not just sending money, but, working with his hands.
Yeah.
He was a dedicated father,
Right.
speaking to his wife and children daily.
Mm.
And there's also this strange twist. Both Henrik and his brother had premonitions of Henrik's death just before 9/11,
Hmm.
like a sense of foreboding.
It adds a layer of intrigue to the case. While premonitions aren't evidence, they raise questions about fate and resilience, especially considering what was about to unfold.
It's definitely chilling. Now, to understand the context of this murder, we need to touch upon the events of 9/11, but we'll keep it brief. Imagine the sheer impact on New York City that day.
It's important to remember that 9/11 wasn't just a national tragedy. It was a deeply personal one for millions of New Yorkers. This trauma inevitably had a profound impact on every aspect of life in the city, including how law enforcement operated.
Right. So on the morning of 9/11, Henrik went to work as usual, but later that evening, he was supposed to start a new job, a night shift at a supermarket in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And he was unfamiliar with that borough, especially the neighborhood of Bed-Stuy, where his new job was.
Yeah.
I've been to Bed-Stuy. It's pretty rough around the edges.
This unfamiliarity made him more vulnerable. It's easy to get disoriented in a new place, and Bed-Stuy already had a high crime rate even before the added tension of 9/11.
Tragically, just 30 minutes before his shift was supposed to start, Henrik was shot multiple times in the chest. Around 11:30 p.m., given the chaos of 9/11, you might be wondering, how did the investigators even begin to approach this case? Like, how do you even start?
The resources available to law enforcement were stretched incredibly thin that day. Because of the demands of 9/11, only a single detective and one evidence collection officer responded to the scene.
Only one detective. Isn't a homicide investigation usually a whole team effort?
Absolutely. Typically, you would have a full team of detectives, forensic specialists, and other resources at a homicide scene. This limited response undoubtedly impacted the investigation. Fewer officers meant fewer witnesses interviewed, less area canvassed, and potentially crucial forensic evidence overlooked.
And Bed-Stuy was already, a tough neighborhood to work in.
Right.
Even before 9/11, witnesses were often hesitant to cooperate with the police.
This reluctance to cooperate stems from the complex dynamics of the neighborhood. Fear of retribution, mistrust of law enforcement, and the code of silence, often prevalent in high-crime areas, likely hampered the investigation. Add to that the trauma and fear caused by 9/11, and you can see why getting anyone to talk must have been incredibly difficult.
So what were the initial theories the investigators were working with?
Well, the limited evidence pointed toward a few possibilities,
Yeah.
each with its own set of challenges.
Okay, right.
So the most obvious one seems to be robbery. A 911 caller reported hearing an argument before the gunshots.
Mm-hmm. This suggests a possible confrontation. A robbery gone wrong is, unfortunately, a common scenario. especially in urban areas.
But wouldn't a seasoned robber know to target someone with more than $5?
Right.
We know Henrik sent most of his earnings back to Poland. You raise a good point. It's unusual for a robber to use lethal force for such a small amount, particularly in a high crime area where more lucrative targets might be available.
And we can't forget the language barrier. Henrik didn't speak much English. Could that have contributed to a misunderstanding and escalated the situation?
Miscommunication, especially in a tense situation, can absolutely escalate a confrontation. A simple misunderstanding could have had tragic consequences.
Another theory was a hate crime. Henrik was wearing camouflage that day and had a darker complexion. Some people in the neighborhood thought he might be connected to the terrorist attacks.
This theory, though unsubstantiated, reflects the heightened tensions and anxieties of the time. In the aftermath of 9/11, there were unfortunately instances of backlash against certain groups.
Right.
How did investigators approach this theory?
They didn't find much evidence to support it, but the limited scope of the investigation makes it hard to rule out completely.
It's possible that evidence went undiscovered, or that witnesses were hesitant to come forward with information related to a hate crime.
It's frustrating to think that crucial information might be out there, undiscovered, because of the circumstances surrounding the investigation.
It highlights the importance of thorough investigations, even amidst challenging circumstances.
Yeah.
Every piece of evidence, every witness account could be the key to solving a case and providing closure to the victim's family.
This brings us to another crucial point. The investigation didn't end there.
Right.
10 years after the murder, the NYPD's cold case squad took over.
The cold case squad often brings fresh perspectives and utilizes advancements in technology and investigative techniques to re-examine old cases. They're committed to pursuing justice even years after a crime has occurred.
And their approach in this case was really innovative. They used technology to reconstruct the neighborhood as it was in 2001, trying to track down potential witnesses who might have lived or worked in the area at the time.
This is an example of how technology is transforming criminal investigations. By digitally recreating the past, investigators can identify individuals who might have had information but were never interviewed, or whose memories might be jogged by seeing the neighborhood as it was.
So this technology seems like it has huge potential for cold cases. I wonder how many more cases could be solved with this approach. What other techniques did they use?
They employed a technique called geographic profiling. By analyzing the locations of the crime scene, potential witness sightings, and other relevant data, investigators can narrow down the areas where a suspect may have lived or frequented. It's like connecting the dots to create a map of the suspect's potential movements.
So they were trying to create a profile of the potential perpetrator based on their movements and the geography of the area.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. Did they make any progress?
They did make some progress. The reconstruction and the use of geographic profiling helped them identify and interview several new witnesses who had not been spoken to in the original investigation. Unfortunately, none of those interviews led to a concrete suspect or a definitive break in the case.
It's heartbreaking to think that after all that effort, the case remains unsolved.
It is, but the investigation is still active. The cold case squad made a public appeal for information, emphasizing that even the smallest detail can be the missing link they need. Often it's a seemingly insignificant piece of information that breaks a case wide open.
So even though the case remains unsolved, there's still hope.
Absolutely. Cold cases are never truly closed. New evidence can emerge, witnesses can come forward, and advances in forensic science can shed new light on old mysteries.
That's a glimmer of hope for Henrik's family, who've been waiting for answers for over 2 decades. But this isn't just about solving a crime. It's about a life cut short, a family shattered, and the enduring pain of unanswered questions.
The ripple effects of this murder extend far beyond the immediate victim. We have to consider the profound impact on his wife and children in Poland, who lost a husband and father, and of course his sister Lutina, who was his connection to America, his support system.
From what we've learned, Lutina is still deeply affected by her brother's death. Imagine carrying that weight for over 20 years.
It speaks to the profound nature of grief, especially when there's no closure. The lack of answers, the unanswered questions can prevent families from fully healing and moving forward.
It's not just the family, though.
Right.
The detectives involved in the case also carry a heavy burden. Imagine being those detectives, knowing that you couldn't give the case the attention it deserved because of the unimaginable events unfolding around you.
They were forced to make difficult choices in the face of unprecedented circumstances. They carry the weight of knowing that the investigation couldn't be given the attention it deserved.
It's a reminder that behind every case file are real people grappling with real emotion.
We often focus on the victims and their families, but we also need to acknowledge the emotional toll on the investigators, especially in cases like this where external factors beyond their control hindered their ability to do their jobs effectively.
So where do we go from here?
Wow.
We've explored the complexities of the investigation, the challenges and the innovative approaches used to try and solve this case. But what about the human cost? And what does all of this mean for us, the listeners?
That's what we'll delve into next. We'll explore the human impact of Henrik's unsolved murder and discuss what we can learn from this case and how, even now, we can play a part in the pursuit of justice. Henrik's story is a stark reminder that even amidst global tragedies, individual lives matter. The chaos and grief of 9/11 shouldn't overshadow the tragedy of his murder or diminish the importance of seeking justice for him and his family.
Yeah, it's almost like his case is a microcosm of that day. While the world was understandably focused on the attacks, another tragedy was unfolding. A story that might have gone unnoticed if not for the people who refused to let Henrik be forgotten.
Exactly. His case underscores the importance of remembering and honoring all victims, regardless of the circumstances surrounding their deaths.
And it also makes you wonder about those sliding door moments in life. What if Henrik had taken a different subway exit that night?
Right.
Could his fate have been different?
Those what ifs are both intriguing and agonizing.
Nice.
They remind us of the delicate balance of life and how seemingly insignificant choices can have enormous consequences.
This case has me thinking about my own daily routines and how much we take for granted.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to be aware of our surroundings and the potential risks we face, even in ordinary activities like commuting.
You've touched on a crucial point. Henrik's story compels us to be more mindful of our personal safety and the importance of situational awareness, regardless of where we are or what we're doing.
And it makes me think about the role of community. If someone had seen something suspicious that night or felt safe enough to share information with the police, maybe the case would have been solved.
Absolutely. This case highlights the critical role witnesses play in investigations. It also underscores the need for trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. The police need the community's help to solve crimes, but the community needs to feel safe and supported enough to trust the police.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Building those bridges of communication and trust is essential for effective crime prevention and resolution.
Precisely. Open dialogue and mutual respect are key to creating a safer environment for everyone.
We've talked about the challenges the investigators face, but let's not forget about the role technology played in this case. The Cold Case Squad's use of technology to reconstruct the past is incredible. It opens up a whole new avenue for revisiting cold cases and potentially uncovering new leads.
It's a testament to the power of innovation and the relentless pursuit of justice. It gives us hope that even cases that seem unsolvable might one day be cracked.
Yeah, it's like giving a voice to the voiceless, using technology to bring the past to life, to recreate the scene of a crime, to track down witnesses who might have long forgotten the details. It's an incredible tool for justice.
And it's a reminder that the pursuit of justice never truly ends. As technology advances, so do our capabilities to solve crimes, no matter how old or complex.
Thinking about the technology used in this case, it's clear that the investigators went to extraordinary lengths to solve Henrik's murder. They weren't willing to let it simply fade away as another unsolved case.
Their dedication is commendable. Despite the passage of time and the limited initial investigation, they applied new tools and strategies to try and uncover the truth. It speaks volumes about their commitment to seeking justice for Henrik and his family.
It's inspiring, really. It shows that even in the face of uh, seemingly insurmountable obstacles, there are people who refuse to give up.
That's the essence of the cold case squad. They take on cases that others have deemed unsolvable, and they approach them with fresh eyes, determined to find answers where others haven't.
I know we've covered a lot of ground, but I want to circle back to the
Yeah.
human element of this story. We've talked about Henrik's dedication to his family and the impact his losses had on them, especially his sister Lutina. But I'm also struck by the emotional weight carried by the detectives who worked on this case.
It's easy to overlook the emotional toll investigations like this take on law enforcement professionals. They're human beings too, and they're not immune to the feelings of frustration, sadness, and even guilt that come with working on unsolved cases, especially when they feel like they could have done more.
Imagine the weight of knowing that the largest terrorist attack in history happened in your city on the same day you were assigned to investigate a murder. Knowing that this impacted your ability to dedicate the necessary time and resources to the case, it must be incredibly heavy.
It is. These detectives were dealing with unimaginable circumstances, and they had to make difficult choices about how to allocate their limited resources. It's understandable that they might feel a sense of responsibility, even a sense of guilt for not being able to give Henrik's case the attention it deserved.
Yeah, this case really underscores the interconnectedness of everything. How one event, even on a global scale, can have a ripple effect on individuals and their personal tragedies. It's a powerful reminder that we're all part of a larger web of humanity.
That's a profound observation. Henrik's story, while deeply personal, also reflects a universal truth. We're all connected,
Hmm.
and actions and events that impact one person can resonate throughout the lives of many others.
So what can we as listeners take away from all of this? What's the message we should carry with us after this deep dive?
I think Henrik's story offers several powerful takeaways.
Hmm.
First, it reminds us that even amidst global events, individual lives matter.
Right.
Second, it highlights the importance of community, communication, and trust in solving crimes. And finally, it demonstrates the incredible potential of technology to bring justice, even in cold cases.
Yeah. It also serves as a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. What happened to Henrik could happen to any of us.
That's a sobering thought, but an important one. We often go through life unaware of the potential dangers around us. Henrik's story is a call to be more aware, more present, and more appreciative of the time we have.
I think that's a perfect segue into our final thoughts on this case. We've talked about the challenges, the complexities, and the unanswered questions surrounding Henrik's murder. But amidst all of that, there's also a glimmer of hope. We've talked about the challenges, the complexities, and the unanswered questions surrounding Henrik's murder. But amidst all of that, there's also a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, that hope lies in the dedication of investigators like those in the cold case squad. The advancements in technology that give us new tools to revisit these cases,
Yeah.
and the enduring belief that justice, no matter how long delayed, is still worth pursuing.
And don't forget the power of storytelling. By sharing Henrik's story and keeping his memory alive, we contribute to the ongoing pursuit of justice.
Sharing information and raising awareness can make a real difference. Supporting organizations dedicated to solving cold cases is crucial. Sometimes even a small act can help bring closure to families and ensure that victims are not forgotten.
And for our listeners who want to learn more about Henrik's case, or if you think you might have any information that could help, we've included links to the NYPD Cold Case Squad and other relevant organizations in the show notes. Don't underestimate the power of even a single tip.
You never know how your information could impact an investigation. Sometimes a seemingly insignificant detail can be the missing piece of the puzzle, especially in cases like Henrik's, where the initial investigation was affected by the extraordinary circumstances that day. Public input is crucial.
This deep dive has been a powerful experience. It's a reminder that even amidst global events, individual lives matter, and justice for victims like Henrik should never be forgotten.
It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit that even in the face of overwhelming tragedy, there are those who continue to seek answers, to fight for justice, and to keep the memory of the victims alive.
It's also a reminder that we all have a role to play. We can honor the victims and support their families by remembering their stories and advocating for justice.
Absolutely. We can share information, raise awareness, and support the organizations working tirelessly to solve these cases.
So to wrap up, I want to leave you with this. We've talked about the challenges, the complexities, and the unanswered questions surrounding Henrik Shivak's murder. But remember, there's still hope.
The pursuit of justice for Henrik and for all victims of unsolved crimes continues. And as we've seen in this case, even years later, new evidence can emerge, new technologies can be applied, and new witnesses can come forward.
Henrik's story is a reminder that every life has value, every victim deserves justice, and every case, no matter how cold, is worth pursuing. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, every story matters.